Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Watchlist. This being something I like to describe as basically your monthly TV guide, almost. Basically telling you some new stuff that's coming up about shows, basically that I'm interested in, that you might be interested in as well. First thing on the list is on March 5th, we have the return of Once Upon a Time, which I'm super excited about, especially the way the winter / mid-season finale kind of left things. Obviously, we got the identity of the person that's going to quote-unquote kill Emma in the future, which I'm kind of glad that I guessed it, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who ended up figuring that out beforehand, just what that means for two particular characters involved. Well, Emma too, and as well as everyone that's important to her, but you know, those two specific characters that's associated with that person. Obviously, I'm beating around the bush because obviously I don't want to go into spoilers in case anyone's like, oh, I'm gonna wait till the last minute to watch it so I don't have to wait, you know, so long, or maybe that someone who watches this hasn't gotten completely caught up yet. But I'm also interested to find out about Emma and Regina's current situation, because it's like their circumstance, it's not going to be the easiest thing to get away from, especially for Regina. So I'm very interested and see how that goes down as well. On that same day, we also have the series premiere of Time After Time. It literally airs like right after Once Upon a Time. It's actually a 2-hour series premiere. Now, if you're unfamiliar, you haven't seen anything about it, don't know what it's about, basically Time After Time is about Jack the Ripper coming to present day and H.G. Wells chasing after him. Obviously, you know, a lot of time travel and stuff like that. An interesting thing is the actor who played Daniel on the show Revenge, another ABC show, you hear him with a British accent, which is like, holy crap, you're British, aren't you? I just thought that was fascinating to me. You know, that's always a thing to me when I find out like someone is an American. It's like, dude, you do such a good American accent, and now I find out you're not American. That's its own. I actually looked into it a little bit, obviously not too deeply, but an interesting thing I found out is that this is actually the second adaptation of this story, because it's actually originally based on a book which was later adapted into a movie, and now it's being adapted into a TV show. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Also on that day is the season 2 premiere of Shades of Blue with Jennifer Lopez and Ray Liotta. So kind of adding that there to anyone that might be looking, I was like, oh, I need a kind of new crime drama in my life. There's one for you. Personally, I never finished the first season, so I'm gonna have to go back and finish watching that before obviously the second season premieres. So not necessarily sure if I'm going to cover that for Crime Centric or not. I'll probably just watch it. So on March 10th, we have the series finale of The Vampire Diaries, which I'm like I brought up before, like I have mixed emotions. I'm like super excited for it, but at the same time, obviously I'm a little sad to see it come to an end. At the time of me recording this, it is Tuesday, so this week's episode will be the second and last one, obviously. But it's like last week's episode already set up some interesting things, but obviously since I haven't seen this week's episode, I don't know what is going to be setting up for the series finale. But like it's taken a very interesting development. A certain character apparently is going to be making, I mean, technically 2 characters are coming back. I'm super excited to see what they decide to do with it. It's going to be very interesting. And on March 11th, we had the return of Samurai Jack on Toonami, which I'm like super excited about. I loved Samurai Jack when I watched it when I was younger, and I say that because I have not seen any Samurai Jack. I mean, I randomly caught an episode, I think last Saturday on Toonami, and that was the first time I'd seen Samurai Jack since it originally aired on Cartoon Network back in the day. So that's another thing too. It's been such a long time. That was like well over a decade ago, because I think that ended like what, like 2004 or 2005. So that was like 12 or 13 years ago, and I've not seen it subsequently since. So before that, I am going to go back and like binge on the entire series. I've seen bits and pieces. I've tried to avoid too much of it, but I have seen bits and pieces of it. Whether or not this is any of the stuff I've seen, it's been in the trailer that was released a little while back, I don't know. I will include that in a card or annotation, as well as in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Like I said, I'm trying to go in, you know, avoid as many things about it as possible. And on March 17th, we have the original season 4 premiere, which I'm super excited about, especially because it's like this is obviously airing like a week after the Vampire Diaries series finale. And I mentioned this in the podcast. It's something I found out about. It's something I was wondering if that's what they were going to do, and it turns out to be the case. That the originals, obviously after, you know, Klaus and his family found themselves in a particular situation they found him in at the end of season 3. Basically, there's been a 3-year time skip, because originally during the last seasons, obviously, like TVD took the time skip like partway through its season. Like that was like obviously it was set up at the beginning of the season, but then eventually it just that became the main timeline. So it seems like the originals is kind of catching up, which I brought up is like I knew that would be kind of, especially with the circumstances that it's happening in the originals, it's like that'd be their perfect way to kind of put it in that timeline as well. Because because normally the Vampire Diaries and the originals obviously would kind of go hand in hand. The fact is one would come one and then the other one be, you know, like literally they've always been back to back, haven't they? I think they have. I might be remembering that wrong. Definitely interested to see where this season takes us, you know, with our antagonist that was set up. Once again, I'm beating around the bush, not trying to spoil anything. That was set up last season. So also curious about the whole circumstance behind this too, because there was that whole thing about this might be the final season of the originals. Granted, this was something I read months ago. I haven't really looked into it subsequently since. So because it was apparently like maybe a possible Netflix deal in the workings. I don't know. Like I said, I'm also curious to see how this will tie in with the Vampire Diaries, if it will at all. Whether it's like once the Vampire Diaries is done, it's like that chapter is kind of closed off from that world, or would that be stuff they kind of pull from, you know? It's like, oh yeah, even though like TVD is done, we still have the original, so obviously we can pull from that cast anytime we need to. So, and also on that day we also have Netflix releasing Iron Fist, which I'm also super excited about. It's hands down probably like the show I'm most excited about, dude. Like, I saw the trailers, which if you haven't, I'll include a card, annotation, link in the description, all that for you to check it out yourself. But it's like, it looks so good. I've been in love with all of the Netflix shows. I know people have their problems with them in certain degrees, but to me, it's like I've loved and enjoyed all. I'm super excited about this because, like, as they said in the trailer, like literally the final Defenders here, and it's like that means also that step closer to kind of getting that Avengers feel, you know, when the Defenders come up. But even before we get to that, I'm just super excited to see what they do about Iron Fist. Obviously, they can't really beat around the bush about his whole situation being very magic related. It's like he literally gets his powers from killing a dragon. I mean, at least, you know, that's my knowledge of it. Because this is like much like all the other Marvel superheroes. Like Iron Fist is another Marvel superhero I'm not that familiar with. Much like Luke Cage, the only reason why I know about him is because of the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. So if it wasn't for that, I would have gone completely blind into this. So I do know his backstory a little bit, because there was like an episode where like Peter has to help him because it's about kind of dealing with his past a little bit, kind of learning more about him and how he became Iron Fist essentially. So I'm super excited about this. And then the final thing I have on the list is on March 19th we have this season 2 premiere of Into the Badlands, which at the time of recording this, I've seen bits of it. I've always been interested in it, but I just never caught it when it was originally on last season. So I'm gonna try and catch up on it, you know, because I am very interested in checking it out. It seems like a very cool actiony show. It's kind of, I'm not really even sure where the settings takes place. It looks like it's kind of like a very broken down future. I don't know if dystopian future would kind of be the right word. It seems like it might be kind of a dystopian Western type of, like, you know, type of world where it's like places like, lords control this particular lands and stuff like that. Technology has fallen type of situation. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. Like I said, I don't really know too much about it. I haven't really looked into it. Just any commercials I've seen from it in the past, as well as, you know, the more recent ones for the season premieres, which I feel like those are probably spoilers, but it's like I don't understand the context of them anyway, so they mean nothing to me. So that's gonna be something I'm gonna be checking out soon too. So, but really, that's all I had on this list. Like always, feel free to add some more stuff to it in the comments down below. You know, it might be something that I'm not aware of that's coming back, you know, like something that might have taken a break that's coming back, or whether it's like a new series or a new season or something. Do include it in the comments down below for anyone else, you know, for me, as well as anyone else that might be interested in it. You know, it might be like, oh, you pointed this out, so maybe me or someone else would decide, oh, I'll check it out. So really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.